again, thank you for everyone taking time out on your busy day and coming and joining us today for this masterclass. Feel free to eat a sandwich, have a coffee, relax while listening in. You don't have to have your camera on unless you're eating something very nice and would like to share it with us. So we'll just jump straight in, and I'd like to introduce you to Emily Richards, founder of the Stickman consultancy and also one of UNIFY's strategic partners. Emily's going to talk about 3 easy marketing steps to growing admissions at your prep school. After the talk, if you have any questions, please feel free to stay online and have a chat. So over to you, Emily, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Steve. And yes, just want to, you all know Steve and Carol, and just to seriously big up them up. They are just such the best team. And if you haven't yet checked out or haven't yet used their UNIFY system or their new Photo Ghost system that they've launched, do check it out. Anyway, I will dive straight in. But yes, thank you so much, Steve, for having us today.
Okay.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. As Steve says, we're going to be taking you through the 3 easy marketing steps to growing admissions at your school. I'm just going to move everyone out of the way so I can see my slides. There we go. And a few housekeeping things, just if you wouldn't mind muting and ideally turning off phones and emails. If you can stay away from work for the next hour, grab a pen and paper, do make notes, because we want you to get as much value as possible from our session. Having said that, we will be sending a recording of this afterwards anyway, so you can relax a little bit. And it would be really helpful if you could rename yourself to your name and your school if those aren't those things already. So we'll be taking questions at the end, but if you have any inspiration or anything springs to mind in the meantime, please do drop it in the chat and we will pick it up. And we wanted to kick off by reassuring you that you're in the right place with us today. If you need to grow admissions or improve your marketing, or just keep your numbers stable, but perhaps you don't know how, or maybe you're just too busy to address it properly, or perhaps you're a more experienced school marketer but want to power up your marketing and refine how you're doing things. So if any of those apply to you, you're in for a treat, because during the next hour, we're going to share our 3 easy but powerful steps that you can take to growing admissions. And we're super excited to have you here. So quick overview of who we are for those of you who don't know us. As Steve says, I'm Emily Richards. I'm the founder of the Stickman consultancy, and I've worked in marketing for over 20 years. Quick random fact about me: it was never my destiny to work in marketing. I was always going to do music at university with the intention of going on to become a concert pianist, but I had a last minute change of heart, and it led to me to pursuing a career in marketing, and I've never looked back. Absolutely love it. Before setting up Stickman, I spent about 14 years of my career working in large marketing agencies in the southwest of England, in Bristol. And I was lucky to be working with people at the top of their game, with big brands. And I learned really gold standard ways of doing things. And then 9 years ago, I decided I wanted to do that for myself and to apply that knowledge to the gaps that I was seeing in the education industry. So in 2012, Stickman begun, and we support independent schools with powerful, no-nonsense school marketing services that pay for themselves, because we help to recruit, retain pupils, so those additional fees pay for our services. And we offer that in both a coaching format, where we upskill school marketing and admissions professionals, or we take it off a school's hands via our private consultancy services and build that plan for them. And we specialise in schools because we absolutely love working with schools. And these are some examples of the gorgeous schools we have the pleasure of working with. I'm sure you're all leaning in now, looking at who's on there. And we work both internationally and across the UK. And the schools we work with really do vary, all shapes and sizes, all stages of struggles and successes, from those who've had a declining pupil roll for a number of years through to those who don't have any gaps in their pupil numbers but just want to future-proof their school by marketing it well. And independent schools and prep schools in particular are our heartland. So here's the gang. We have Mark and Charlotte and Karen on here today. So give us a wave. And we're a small but mighty team. And our consultants all have vast experience in marketing and with schools in particular. We also enjoy links with great key industry associations. And I guess our fundamental belief is that schools are businesses, and a commercial approach to marketing a school is really vital. We're delighted to say we've generated over 4.4 million for schools now in additional pupil fees. And our secret to success is our 3-step system that we've created. And this is something that we use in all the work we do with schools because it's really game changing for their marketing, yet importantly, doesn't add more to their plate. And that's actually one of the big reasons we created it in the first place. All too often, we would see schools finding marketing challenging and experiencing real pressure around it. Pressures such as marketing overwhelm, the too many options with marketing activities, Facebook, Instagram, video marketing, Google Ads, traditional media. Then you've got things like Clubhouse sprouting up, TikTok, Reels, Stories, and the list goes on. Also, busy school environment, lots to do. We would also see school marketers very time poor, always rushing around, feeling the pressure to post on social media every day and to gather content for that, let alone, looking after the website, organizing events, writing newsletters, and so on. Competition, also an added pressure. Yes, certainly between independent schools, but also, no doubt about it, we're seeing state schools up their game now in terms of what they're offering to prospective families and in their marketing. And schools are really having to fight for their share of the market. Only added to pressures such as Keir Starmer this week just announcing proposing increased taxes for private schools, which is going to obviously have a knock-on to the fees for families, which may force more families out of the market. And again, just another pressure for you guys in terms of pupil numbers. And couple all of that, all those pressures, with navigating the added complexities of the last 20 years. And it's really obvious that things just haven't been easy. So there's a lot to contend with right now. And, this new landscape now puts your school under a new microscope. Things aren't going to go back to normal. So the marketing and admission strategies that you used to work for your school, they are unlikely to work in 2022 and beyond. And it really is all about the decisions that schools take now in how to address this that makes all the difference. And we've seen two types of schools emerge from the pandemic. Firstly, survivors, those schools who are perhaps burying themselves in the minutiae of the day-to-day, firefighting and focusing on the short term. The other type of school being thrivers, those who've chosen to think strategically, those who've adapted to the new pressures and the new needs that have emerged from prospective families. These schools are looking longer term. They're realizing that despite the additional challenges that have been presented, their school still needs to focus on recruiting and retaining families in order to keep sustainable. We were at the IAPS conference in Bournemouth only last week, and their CEO, Christopher King, talked about emerging from the pandemic with ambition. And this is so true, absolutely applies to marketing. Schools need to be ambitious and intentional with their marketing post-pandemic. Relying on word of mouth or not planning strategically no longer being sufficient. But easier said than done in a busy school environment, thinking strategically and removing yourself from the day-to-day. And that is why I think our 3-step system helps schools, because it offers them a really simple, powerful system to follow. So as promised, I'm going to give you an overview of the 3 steps so that you can take away something really valuable. And we only have a short window with you, so it's going to be top level fashion. And I'm going to talk really quickly, but you'll be able to come away with a helicopter view, an end-to-end view of your marketing and admissions activities so that you can know where to focus to get better results going forwards. So I'm just going to, I think in terms of time, I think it's better if we skip the poll. I'm going to go straight to the 3 steps. So look out for your key actions. You can see the little sticky character bottom left of the screen there with the red flag. When you see her, there are some key actions to note down. And feel free to draw along as well, scribble out your 3 circles and make notes. So firstly, preparing a great marketing foundation. This is really important because if you start promoting your school without your basics sorted, your efforts are likely to be futile. It's a bit like the foundations of a house. Without them, the house would topple over and be no use at all. And this step, the prepare step, involves getting all of your marketing ducks lined up and in a row and ready for action. And at Stickman, there are 3 ducks that need lining up in the prepare step. The first of these is goals. So are you setting meaningful goals at the outset of your planning? Now, this can really be the difference between you achieving what you set out to or not. And it's been said that life without goals is like a race without a finish line. You'll be fumbling around, finding your way, going off track, and probably wasting time, energy, and money. And another thing that came out of last week's conference was that schools simply don't have excess money, time, or energy right now. Plus, without goals, you won't be able to measure the effectiveness of your marketing activities. So define these and make these visible reminders on a daily basis. Pin them up by your desk, have them on your screensaver, whatever works for you. The second element is defining and understanding your target audience. Now, knowing and being clear about who you're targeting very much informs everything you do with your marketing. It's going to inform your visual identity, your marketing messages, your marketing channels, and the timing of your activities too. And our advice is that there are 2 key audiences for you to reach out to. So on the spectrum, you can see here, you have those who are unaware of your school through to those who've enrolled at your school. And our advice is start with your low hanging fruit. So we call these your warm audience, those who already are known to your school in some way, they've inquired or have some kind of relationship with it. And this audience is most ripe and most ready to hear from you. So it's going to lead to the quickest and easiest results. And it sounds really obvious, but you'd be amazed at how many schools and organizations think, right, I need to do some marketing. How can I reach those people out there? When in fact, the best audience are there right under your nose. It's also a lot cheaper to prioritize a warmer audience because you already have this audience's data rather than having to deploy potentially expensive marketing channels to reach an external audience as well. So define a hot list of these warms, this warmest audience, and be single-minded in engaging with them and nurturing them. And this is one of the first things we do on a 6-week coaching course that we run for prep schools, because it's really important to get this right. And then once saturated, you can then move on to your second audience, your cool audience, those who are currently unaware of your school. And although these aren't as high a priority initially, they are still a very necessary audience that are essential to filling your pupil pipeline, helping you to get that volume of inquiries coming in. So when you do market to this group, the trick is be specific, because if you're marketing to many, you're speaking to none. And this is something we really do live by at Stickman. And it feels slightly counterintuitive to be narrowing the audience that you're going after, but it really does pay off, because if you're not specific, you run the risk of trying to be all things to all men and incurring a lot of wastage with your marketing. Plus, your marketing is unlikely to resonate with anyone because it's going to be so vanilla, trying to please everyone. It's what we call a spray and pray approach. Basically, you're just spraying a general marketing message out to anyone who will listen and praying it will work. And it's just something we highly recommend you don't do. So define a detailed profile, think who they are, give them a name, an age, an occupation, where do they live, give them a location, what are their needs, their wants and desires in relation to their child's education And understanding that bit is really crucial, because that's going to help you craft really killer marketing messages that are going to resonate with your audience. And list where they hang out, where they spend their time during the week and at the weekends. Knowing that is going to inform your marketing channels. So again, really critical. And also consider when they might be in the market for a school for their child. And if you don't know where to start with this, our tip is to analyze your existing parent body's profile and habits, because those are going to mirror those of a prospective families. So when we conduct surveys or focus groups on behalf of a school, for example, it's always so revealing and provides loads of valuable information, not just for marketing, but also for the school's strategic planning too. So it's really worth doing. The third thing to line up in preparing a strong foundation for your marketing is your school's identity. So this includes your school's visual identity and your marketing messages. So what you look like as a brand and the story you're telling about your school. Now, standing out and being distinctive in a super crowded marketplace is not all that easy. Forbes estimates the average consumer now receives or encounters up to 6,000 ads every single day. And couple that with parents being a time poor set of people, and you quickly realize that prospective families want bite-sized marketing that grabs their attention. And we were talking to a senior school client of ours only a couple of weeks ago who told us how their pupil numbers had shot up by 16% after implementing a simple video strategy. And the moral of the tale being, video is such a great medium for telling detailed and persuasive stories in a really short space of time. So in terms of developing a strong identity for your school, cut through the clutter by adopting a less is more approach. Now, we bang on about the power of three at Stickman. So you may have heard us say this before, but this is something that is so, it can be so game changing for a school getting this right. So limit your key messages to no more than three. So all too often we see schools with visions, missions, a school ethos, goals, aims, principles. They're throwing everything at it just in case. But ironically, the more you say, the less is going to be understood by your target audience. They just don't have time to read that or comprehend that. So keep your messages simple. And then once defined, make sure those messages are obsessively embedded and consistent across your whole school, not just your marketing and communications, but across your teaching and learning, across reward systems, across CPD, across general daily interactions. And when we show the schools we work with how to do that, they suddenly find that their marketing becomes a breeze, because not only do they know what they need to be saying, but better still, their audience are responding to it. So it's a real win-win. And a big thanks to our client, Sunningdale School. They've allowed us to share their new messages that we work with them to define. The headmaster at Sunningdale, Tom Dawson, very wisely recognised that in order to remain competitive and to keep his pupil pipeline healthy, it was necessary to refine his school's marketing messages. So we came up with a concept, Ignite Your Spark, and we identified the school's 3 USPs and what they offer to families, all based on key stakeholder research. So ignite your spark at Sunningdale through friendship, through curiosity, and through challenge. And we also defined the context behind these messages, because it's that really counts. So what the school are doing on a daily basis to live and breathe those aspects. And the second part of advice we'll share with you in preparing a strong identity for your school is to ensure your website and your social media are optimized and representing your school well. Now, those two platforms, your website and your social media, are really the cornerstone of the inquiry journey, because a prospective family is going to check those out before potentially even making contact with you. And this is even more present post-pandemic, because lockdown, as we all know, propelled a digital-first approach. Plus, it also increased consumer expectations about the information that they're served online. So people are now less tolerant and will click away and onto the next school if they don't find what they want quickly and easily. So it's vital, get those websites and social media channels telling a strong story about your school. So social media feeds, this is our own Instagram feed. If you're not already following us, do so, because we share lots of school marketing tips on there. But we pride ourselves on maintaining high quality content, as we know that this is a crucial factor in our customers, so schools, deciding whether to make an inquiry with us or not. And it's no different for you and prospective families. This is another client of ours, Marymount International School in London. We worked with them recently to boost their social media presence as part of developing an overall marketing strategy for them. And there are various ways you can achieve a dynamic media feed, but a really good guide to follow is to ensure that you're sharing 3 types of content. The first of those is content that engages your audience. So that entertains your audience, that's authentic, perhaps humorous, and stories that show the human side of your school and the people within it. So show prospective families that school leaders are humans. Most of you will have seen the very lovely Tom Rogerson's lake jumping and skydiving efforts. This is Tom Rogerson, head of Cottesmore, if you happen to not know this fellow, but he's a larger than life character. And he's brilliant. His social media is brilliant, very, very engaging. Carol's nodding there because she knows exactly who I'm talking about. And other good school leaders to watch out for, I would say, would be Port Regis Prep School. They do some lovely engaging content. Gareth Dudes from King's Worcester. Carol knows all these people, she's nodding away. And Lisa MacDonald from Edgegrove Prep School too. But not enough females are doing this, not enough female school leaders. So, but generally, I don't think enough schools are doing this authentic, engaging content. So it's a real opportunity for you to stand out. The second type of content to weave in is content that engages your audience. Educates your audience. I can't even read anymore. Educates your audience about your school and the quality of its offering and the caliber of people and pupils. So the teaching and learning that's within it and the activities within it. And then the third type of content is that which directly invites prospective families to engage with your school. So invites them to events or invites them to, dare I say, inquire. Many schools feel uncomfortable doing that, or perhaps they neglect to do it, but it's such a crucial part of making your content count rather than just going on and on daily, posting on Instagram and Facebook. Make it count and have those strong call to actions and make sure you're telling your audience what you want them to do. So use these as a guide when planning out your social media, and schools just really love this when we map this out for them in our coaching course, because it's such a headache for them and such a time drainer for them. By the way, guys, bonus tip, if you feel sometimes too stretched between what you have to do and too many platforms to manage, don't be afraid to cull them. We're seeing fewer and fewer schools, for example, having success with Twitter. So, there's nothing wrong with concentrating on fewer platforms and understanding where your audience are. So base your decision around that in terms of channel selection, but do fewer and do them well. And this stuff really does work. So this is a client of ours who saw 15% increase in enrollments when we helped them to sort their key messages. And we just want you to know that you can absolutely do this too. This isn't rocket science. This is absolutely about knowing what to focus on. So that's step 1 of Stickman's 3-step system, and little stickies there with their red flag. So this is your questions to ask yourself. Have you set those goals? Have you defined your audience? Is your identity distinctive and consistent? So again, we invite you to get your pen out, go through these, go through them, cross them off, highlight the ones you don't feel you have covered, and work on those. It gives you a point of focus. So once you've prepared that great marketing foundation, you then need to promote your school effectively and ensure you're generating a reliable and robust number of inquiries coming into your school at any given time. And the first thing you need to do here is warm your audience up. So we want to get them to know, like, and trust your school so that by the time you actually do promote your school to them, they are practically chomping at the bit to hear from you. So we see some schools skipping out the no like trust bit and jumping straight to promoting, but it's just going to mean that your advances just miss the mark. So if you think of it a little bit like dating, if you went up to a stranger in a bar and asked them to marry you, you're likely to get the cold shoulder. So you need to introduce yourself to that person. You need to warm them up and build a relationship with them. And it's no different from promoting your school. And the key is, when you do promote your school, is to reach the right audience with the right messages and visual identity on the right channels at the right time. So this is the best bit. You've done most of that, 80% of that in step one. So all you have to look at now is concentrating on the right channels and the timings. So let's make this super simple too. You don't need to be everywhere. Be where you need to be. There's so much pressure to feel as though you need to be doing loads of different marketing activities, to be keeping up with every marketing trend going. But choosing the right marketing channels is just about promoting your school where your audience hang out, where and when they spend their time, whether that's online or offline, or usually a combination of the two. So concentrate again just on a few of these core channels and go heavy on them. Do fewer of them, but do them well. So you want to aim to be omnipresent in your target audience's world. It's also important to make sure you're thinking strategically across your marketing channels and that they're all working together and reaching your audience from several different complementary angles. The reason for this is activities working in silo will just get lost in that marketing noise we talked about. So you may have heard us talk about the marketing rule of 7, which states that a prospect needs to hear or see an advertiser's message at least 7 times before they'll take an action. And we often see schools trialing this marketing channel, then another, and everything's kind of working in isolation and they're not quite sure what is or isn't working. There's no kind of plan or strategy behind it. So how many of you, for example, have advertised in a regional lifestyle magazine due to the pressure around other schools being in them rather than it just because it's part of a strategic plan? And then you don't see any responses from it. You're not sure it's worked at all, but you then do it again because you're scared of not being in there because the other schools are in there. So if you're not seeing responses from that type of activity, it's usually not the magazine that's the problem. It's the silo approach. So whatever that channel is, whether it's these magazines, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's billboards, they're not going to work in isolation. So they need to be part of a plan where all your activities are working together. And doing this will save you money. You'll get better results and you'll have a roadmap to follow and an asset that can be used year after year. So this plan here is our ready to go marketing template that we give to all the schools in our coaching. And they love it because it gives them a ready-made solution, saves them a whole heap of time. And you can see the example lifestyle magazine ads there. They're just one part of it. They're just one part of a swathe of other activities. And the overall plan means that everything's working in harmony towards the same goal. And it really does pay off. Strategic planning in this way, it's brilliant. This is an example increase in admissions that one of our clients achieved. And again, there's no reason why you can't do this too. So that's step 2. And in a similar step to step 1, we're tasking you with a few more questions. So are you building the know, like, trust factor? Have you defined your marketing channels and timings? And do you have a marketing plan? And be really honest with yourself when answering these, because it's a great way of obtaining focus and really optimizing what you're doing. And the third step is the persuade step. And This involves ensuring you have strategies and processes in place that persuade prospective families to enroll, that convert them into happy paying customers. So the first part of this is showcasing your school with a wow event of some sort. And 9 times out of 10, that is an open event. And the reason we recommend building up to an event is because it gives a single point in time, so a really focused slot in the calendar, and therefore creates a sense of urgency for prospective families to engage with you, rather than just putting your school out there on social media on an ongoing basis and expecting people to inquire. Without that deadline, they just won't have that same urgency. Also, make your event count. So don't view it as something you're obligated to do. Instead, it needs to be viewed ideally across your whole school as your biggest opportunity to boost your school's profile and its admissions and revenue. The mantra needs to be, what can we all do to wow prospective families and persuade them to take the next steps along the enrolment journey with us? And don't just think during the event either, think what can you do before and after to impress. One prep school wanted to market their location as a school, so they hired a land train to take families on a tour of the town and the grounds they're in. And the headmaster was the tour guide, OVS, right? And pointed out all the connections they have around that area. Now, that's just one example and a slightly extreme one, I'll give you that. But the point is, make your open day stand out in whatever way is feasible for your school. The other part of persuading prospective families to enrol involves interacting with them in a planned and structured program in the immediate weeks after the event, and in a way that will really help to seal the deal. And this is where UNIFY's software really can come into play as well, because it's amazing for personalizing communications and just getting people over the line when they're sort of interested, but not quite there, ready to enroll. And it's important to avoid at this stage, after your event, thinking job done. So, avoid that mindset, and also make sure marketing and admissions departments are working really tightly at this point, hand in hand, more than any other stage, because following up in a structured way can make all the difference. And the reason we know that is because when we've worked in schools, we've had families tell us that it was the difference between them joining or not, our persistent follow-up. So follow-up activities can be done manually or automated, or a combination of the two. And as I say, UNIFY's software is so good. You must explore that if you're not using it already. And, don't underestimate this persuade step, this follow-up, the importance of the follow-up, because you can do all the marketing in the world and obtain the interest of prospective families, but if you're not then doing that follow-up and converting them effectively, then your efforts are futile. And you might be listening to this thinking, there's no way that's going to happen in a school. But I can honestly say, not one school we've ever worked with has this 100% nailed. Even schools that think they do are surprised at the gaps we find when we do a mystery shop, for example. So your key reflections from step 3, we would like you to ask yourselves the following. Are you creating the wow at your open event? And do you have that robust follow-up program in place? So get those elements sewn up, and you're going to see a huge difference in the number of families that enroll. So those are your 3 steps to growing admissions: prepare, promote, and persuade. And it really is a great system because it will make it easy to think strategically and know where to focus to save time and money and get better results. So we'd really encourage you to use what you can see on the screen here and sense check and optimize your marketings, and do this today. And when you're doing so, just remember that none of the steps are nice to have. They're interdependent. So each one needs checking thoroughly. So don't be tempted to skip any or not give them the time and effort they need. So we've just shared our top level glimpse into our system there. Of course, we don't have time to go into any more detail there, but I'd just like you to ask yourselves one more question. And that is, what does success look like in 12 months' time? where do you want those pupil numbers to be? And you need to know that because it's going to inform the steps that you take next. It's about what choices you make. So are you going to choose to survive and just figure it out as you go, day by day? It's a longer and a windier and more expensive path, and you might get there in the end, but the fact you're here today tells us this isn't what you want to do. Or are you going to choose to thrive by selecting a strategic, proven success path? So if you've enjoyed our masterclass and you're thinking, I really like the look of that, I'll just spend a couple of minutes telling you about our the next cohort of our 6-week coaching course, which starts on the 1st of November. And lots of schools have taken this already and are now enjoying having a clear roadmap to follow as they come into the new academic year. And the course is designed specifically for prep schools, but they're either standalone prep schools or part of an all through. And the course goes into our 3-step system in detail. And we have literally downloaded our school marketing and admissions brains into this course because we wanted to give you a solution that is going to make it quick and easy for you to get great results. As part of it, you get that ready to go marketing plan template that I mentioned earlier. And this is what's covered. These are the modules. So weeks 1 and 2 shows you how to prepare that all important foundation. So how to define your 3 key messages, how to boost your visual identity in your social media profiles and website. And then in weeks 3, 4, and 5, we cover the promote step. So teaching you how to warm your audience up and reach them via the best marketing channels. And then in week 6, the final week, we show you how to create that wow open event. And most importantly, we teach you our proven follow-up program to get those families to enroll. And all this is shared with you via a rich mix of coaching videos each week. We do live coaching sessions, and those include get it done slots because we know you're busy people. You need dedicated time each week to make this happen, but this way you have us by your side. There are weekly workbooks for you to complete, and there are loads of case studies and best practice examples. And you'll also be part of a school marketing community. We know how lonely school marketing can be in a school. So here you get to share ideas with people who are in the same boat as you. Plus, there are our industry expert sessions to complement what we teach you on the course. And we have our very own Steve Hunt here on personalized communication. So if you join for nothing else, join for that, right? And we've made sure the sessions are only from the best people in the industry, and lots of people join the course for these alone. So basically we support you every step of the way, and we get really nice feedback. This is a headmaster from St. Christina's Prep School in London. We've had 8 inquiries even by the time they finished the course, and 3 people signing up. This is Louise from Queen's. It's an all-through school in Chester. She found having the plan was really good at structuring her activities. Becky Dallimore from Dulwich Prep found the school community side of the course so valuable. And we get international schools on the course as well. And this comment from Denise at Woodford Green School, it's possibly one of the nicest comments we've ever received. So to summarize, you get everything I've shown you so far, everything listed here, but we just wanted to throw some other bits and bobs in for you too, this cohort. So if you joined our course by Friday, the 8th of October, which is a week on Friday, at 5 o'clock, you get a bonus of a one-to-one social media review. You also get a free gift, a free guide on how to, you might get a free gift as well. We might throw that in. A free guide on how to create irresistible marketing messages. And I don't know if you know Lucy Barnwell, but she's a bit of a legend in the industry. Tons of school marketing and customer experience, and what she doesn't know about wowing prospective families ain't worth knowing. And these 3 bonuses have a combined value of 679 alone. And we only give bonuses that are designed to make your lives easier and help you get quicker results. So in terms of the price, I'll share that with you now. So for everything we've just shown, it's normally 2480, and this includes up to 2 participants from your school, but we're feeling generous. So Carol's with me now. If you book by Friday, the 8th of October at 5 o'clock, just over 1 week's time, as well as those bonuses, we're also going to offer a special discount of nearly £500, which takes the price down to 1984. So just think for a second what your pupil fees are and the return on investment you're going to get there. It just becomes a bit of a no-brainer, and it's over £1,100 worth of added value there. But the deal is that you need to book by Friday, the 8th of October. And I'm afraid we're being super harsh, like so mean. There is no wiggle room on that. So if you are frustrated by not getting results with those expensive press ads or billboards or that fancy new website, for a much smaller spend, you now have the option to get that proven all-round marketing support and ready-to-go plan, which is going to bring all your activities together. No more guesswork, no more reactive marketing, no more trial and error. So there we are. I'm nearly done. www.thestickmanconsultancy.co.uk /smashing admissions is the URL to go to. And if you do want to take advantage of those bonuses, do put coupon code Stickman 2021 on the checkout page. And Karen, if you wouldn't mind popping the link and the coupon code in the chat, people will be able to grab it from there. If you're not sure, just contact us. We'd love to have a chat with you about it. Give us a call or book a call on the link there with us. And there we are. There's our summary of what you can get. But aside from that, just want you to remember that whatever level you're at and whatever steps you take next, really think about being intentional with your marketing and making this your time to commit to success, because you and your school definitely deserve it. So thank you everyone for listening to me. I'm just going to hand over briefly to Karen, who has been fielding questions. Karen, have you had any questions in? You're on mute.
I'm on mute.
How many times do we say those words?
Yes, I'm on. I have a couple of questions. Yeah, feel free, by the way, to add them to the chat as we're talking as well. But the first question is: the course sounds great, but do school marketers manage to carve out the time for it? Obviously, this is the biggest challenge that you're facing. We know that you are all time poor. That's why we designed the course the way that we do. So to make sure it was entirely feasible for you to do, you're spinning plates, you're juggling multiple responsibilities. We've made it so accessible so that it only requires maybe 2 or 3 hours of your time a week for the 6 weeks. There's dedicated slots that Emily referred to, the live Q&A sessions, which is great if you can turn up to live, because you can ask us questions, you can really drill into what we've covered that week. But you've also got access to the workbooks and all of the videos and the resources forever once you've signed up. It's lifetime access, so you can keep referring to them whenever is convenient for you. So while we encourage you to keep up with us and work through it at the pace we go to, we absolutely understand that at certain times of the year that might not be possible. So you can always refer back to the workbook, to the videos. We record the Q&A sessions if you can't turn up, although you get the most value out of them, obviously, if you turn up and ask us questions face to face. So it really takes the pressure off, and it makes it really eminently doable. That's the whole point. There's no point of designing something that you're not going to manage. So that's the answer to that question. I have a question here. How would the 6 weeks work when I have a through school where marketing staff and I cover both the prep through to senior and sixth form? So the focus of the course is very much about prep, but we get asked this a lot actually about whether for an all through school it would work. It focuses on the audience for your prep school. So we know that in all through schools, often a lot of the emphasis on the marketing might be towards the senior end, year 7 entry or year 9 or sixth form, but this is targeting that audience who are looking at reception entry or potentially year 3 entry, perhaps if you have entry at that age. So it really does focus the mind in terms of that prep school area. So it would be totally suitable for any staff working on marketing at that level. And again, we absolutely get that you're juggling various audiences, but you need to talk to those audiences perhaps in slightly different ways, which is why this is aimed at the prep school side of things. But yeah, we've had lots of all through schools on the course already, and lots of interest from all through schools as well for the next cohort, so we know it works for them. Thanks for that question. Next question, in terms of, is there a possibility we could be with competitor schools? So again, we're aware of this, so we keep an eye on who is interested in each cohort, and if we spot perhaps a geographical conflict, if you're literally just down the road from each other, then we will raise that and we'll see if you're comfy with that. But otherwise it hasn't been an issue thus far. And of course, you know, if you're a boarding school, potentially you're in competition with boarding schools across the country anyway, so there's always going to be a little bit of that. But actually what we find is that people are really open, sharing best practice, sharing ideas, and it really helps to sort of spark people's imaginations, and get those creative juices flowing when you've got those conversations going on between schools who find themselves in similar situations, who are facing the same challenges.
We have such brilliant conversations. The lives are so much fun with the schools, and everyone gets on so well. It's brilliant because I think they all recognise they have the same, I don't want to say issues, that's too strong, but sort of same challenges. And, you know, just speaking to peers is so valuable, and it's brilliant, the chats that go on and the rich discussions and the tips. And I remember Photo Ghost being one thing that was shared on there, and you know, it's just brilliant little tools that you're using, and there's no holding back. It's really a great forum.
Yeah, we've also heard, and a lot of us are guilty of this, where we're always running 100 miles an hour and trying to do everything at once. And even on our side, not just school side, we're seeing it on corporates where it feels like you've driven your car into some mud and you're flooring it to try and get further ahead, but you're not going anywhere. And I think with marketing, sometimes you've got your foot flat on the floor, wheels are spinning, but you're not actually progressing. And sometimes it's a case of stop that, put it in reverse, just come out of the mud a bit, reposition, and then go again. And I think we're all busy, and we can always say we haven't got 2 hours a week, but this kind of stuff is so important, because it will change the whole, the way you market, the way you look at your school. So it's very effective. And we've seen a lot of schools over the last 18 months looking at their identity. That's a big thing, making sure everything's right. But again, it doesn't have to be complicated. Keep it simple. And that does really work well.
Wise words.
The other really good thing about it is, you know, because you are, the people who join us are learning themselves. It means that the asset that you're paying for lasts forever, because you're gaining that knowledge yourself and also learning from other schools. So I think that's why we had such great feedback from the last cohort, because they really understand what it is they've got to do rather than being told it. It's sort of embedded, which has meant they've been able to be much more effective in implementing what we teach.
I think Tarek's got a question there. Does the course only work if we need to buy into other partners' products and services? No, not at all. It's standalone, and you know, you don't have to buy anything else. Completely nothing else. There's no sellers part of it. Everything we do in the course is just added layers that you can choose to add in if you want to, or not choose to add in. It's absolutely fine. And as I say, we only we work with partners such as UNIFY in it, but you know, those are extra layers, but it can be absolutely standalone and give you everything you need.
Yeah, this is one thing from UNIFY's point of view. We're not about selling products at all. It's about helping the community.
Yeah, exactly.
So these kind of online talks is purely about giving you information and sharing the information. So that's what UNIFY is all about. If it's something, if you're interested, great, but there's no need to buy anything. Just come along and listen, and hopefully take something away from that. Yeah. Interestingly, we're first of all, thanks, Emily. Fantastic advice as always.
You're welcome.
And yeah, if anyone has any questions for Emily, obviously you've got her contact details afterwards. Get in touch. And thank you ever so much for replying to my email that goes out and coming and joining us. I try and do them not so regular because I know you're all busy and being bombarded. We are working in the background with another partner, which will be launching soon, which is Sky TV. There's a lot of schools now are using their Ad Smart stuff on Sky TV for marketing, which if you haven't seen or heard of, I'll keep you posted when that comes live, and we'll invite you all into that as well. So again, hope you haven't missed your lunch, or if you have been eating. And yeah, lovely to see you all, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you very much for having me along, Steve, and
You're
everyone
welcome.
for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.